if billions of people need to use this technology to move money across the world, well, transactions can't settle at the rate at which they do on these existing protocols. They need to move just as fast as Visa, MasterCard networks. You have companies like Circle that have solved the stablecoin-ish problem, right? And you have stable coins out there that represent one-for-one digital dollars. And we experienced some of that story ourselves from our early Facebook days working on Libra and DM. But that's a multi-billion-dollar currency, digital dollar that's used by people across the world, which is incredibly powerful when you think about money transfer.
My theory on that is just tokenized Eurodollars. So the Eurodollar market is the offshore dollar funding markets, right, of which normal people don't get access to. So if you go and speak to family members of yours in Karachi, they're like, well, I can't get dollars. I can't go to the bank. And if I do, I can get, $20 or whatever it is. But what stablecoins is the democratization of access to the US dollar, which is the world's most powerful instrument. It's amazing. People don't realize it. They're like, oh, it's just some mechanism for crypto to work. It's actually not. It's one of the single most important. Only really as it started to dawn on me how big and how important.
Imagine, you're in a hyperinflationary country, right? And how scarce dollars are. Now you have access to them, and yeah, it's so powerful and so cool to see. Yes, there's digital dollar. I think digital euros are right around the corner, and I'm sure pound and other currencies. And so the access to these currencies is just going to become unbelievably easy to obtain going forward. So very empowering.
What was just to get into the Facebook story, I saw that immediately and thought, this is so disruptive, because if you can create a basket of world currencies that's not necessarily the US dollar, it creates a global currency. It was amazing how fast the regulators figured that out as well, because the world's biggest network then basically has a global currency. Yes, it's not inventing a currency. It's not Bitcoin. It's not a new currency. It's a basket, but the basket weighting doesn't necessarily have to be what the weighting was. Talk me through a bit of that Libra journey.
Sure. So I joined to really help to go to market for the product and the project. And so, to your point, right? Like when you think about currencies, there's so many shapes and forms. I think what you called out, a basket of currency exists today. It's called a special drawing right, issued and by large global financial enterprises, right? The IMF understands that there is a need for sovereigns to settle with each other, and they don't want to take on maybe a different kind of geopolitical risk. And so special drawing rights have been very powerful. Now, tokenization of special drawing rights could be, again, much more efficient because you don't have to worry about the overhead. In fact, you can have algorithms that tie to the rebalancing, to your point, and making the special drawing right tied to whatever the weight attributes parties agree to. And so that in itself could be a very powerful solution that could exist on chain. And so Facebook and the DM and Libra project were, to your point, if you read the original white paper, we're trying to create something similar. And of course, whenever a large tech company or a bunch of companies come together, I think regulators' ears perk up, rightfully so, right? They are trying to protect their people. And so we should appreciate that. But it was very challenging to get to market. But what was very cool about that technology was that project was the technology itself. We looked at things like Ethereum, things like Bitcoin, and realized, these protocols are great, but if billions of people need to use this technology to move money across the world, well, transactions can't settle at the rate at which they do on these existing protocols. They need to move just as fast as Visa, MasterCard networks. In fact, maybe even faster than those networks, because Visa is processing around 2,000 transactions per second. If you bring billions of people that are trading digital assets and money at the same time, you're going to need a lot more bandwidth, hundreds of thousands of transactions per second potentially. And just look at games and how frequently someone like EVE Online is transacting with their gamers. And so, paying attention to those types of user behaviors and those principles, we realized it might make sense to build our own blockchain. And that was the DM Libra initiative, as you mentioned, we created our own smart contract language called Move. Move is a deterministic hermetic language, but it's incredibly easy to learn. You don't have to worry about the challenges of a language like Solidity or even things like Rust. And the feedback has been great, by the way, so far on using Move. But if you have lines of code that are capturing real dollar value or millions of dollars of value, you need that code to be easy to read and verifiable. And so we have things like the Move Prover, which is a formal verification engine that audits or takes a look at that code before it goes out into the wild. So we put in all these clauses, these components that were novel innovations to make make blockchain technology scale for billions of people. At the same time, we were trying to figure out, we need to support thousands of transactions per second at sub-second latency. And so, thinking about this, of course, we created the technology, and of course, today it lives on as Aptos. So we're happy to go into that too in detail. But that's a little bit of the story.
Okay, so you spin out of Facebook and you use Move to create Aptos. What's the idea? I mean, it's a big, brave move to go and set up, but I guess you've done it already within Facebook itself. But, it's a competitive landscape and you brought something different. Talk me through the strategy, the vision of what you were setting out to achieve, and then we can talk about where you are today.
I mean, if you kind of tie in all kind of the L1s and L2s today, you barely have 1 million monthly active users. And so if you believe that blockchain technology will be used in a more ubiquitous way, it'll sit in the back end, just like the internet sits on the back end when you're on a Zoom call and having a conversation with someone. Then we need this technology to be able to scale. And so as we spoke with other parties that were interested, whether it was investors or potential partners, it was amazing to find someone like Chris Dixon and A16Z align on that vision, where you do need this. You need serious technology, you need serious engineers, you need a serious group of people that think about things in a way that's different than the current the status as it was within the Web3 or the blockchain landscape. And so people were very excited to partner with us. How often is it you find PhDs with cryptography experience and consensus mechanisms and high performance systems, and folks with backgrounds at Blackrock and RBC and these financial institutions that can solve these problems, not just talk about them in theory. And so we did end up raising $200 million for our first round, which gave us a lot of confidence that the market believed in us and believed in the technology. Again, it was 3.5 years in the making before we even spun out. So there was, it was visible and apparent that it would make its way out. But we're very fortunate to have an amazing group of engineers on our team, business people, marketing people that take going to market very, very seriously. And so, when we spun out, we were able to bring an amazing group of talent to Aptos. We launched 4 testnets last year and mainnet. Each one of those testnets were processing thousands of transactions per second. We were iterating on each one of those testnets. And Raoul, you've been in the space. You see how slow and how hard it is to upgrade these protocols. It takes years. And so we wanted to take a very different perspective of, we want this technology to constantly evolve. And so we ended up raising another $200 million because people saw the test nets go live and were like, wow, there's something special here. And so altogether, you're right. We ended up raising a good amount of money, but that money was put to use in hiring some of the best talent in the world, and also bringing an amazing community around us to bring this project to life. And so, Aptos is live. You can use it. We did some testing the other day. There's over 13,000 transactions that can be run today. We have amazing partners like Google and Coinbase and other large companies, and amazing girls in hoodies and garages that are building products across the world. So it's been an absolute pleasure.
Hey visionaries, thank you for tuning in. For more free crypto content like this, head over to realvision.com/crypto. You'll get early access to the most brilliant minds in the space to cut through the noise, get in-depth analysis, and get you ahead of the curve with unbiased insights.